Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And we're going to talk about sleep. Not because I'm tired. It's not because I'm tired. I promise. I promise it is not because I'm tired. No. It's something that has intrigued me for a really long time. And also because, well, I got an email recently with several articles all related to sleep, and it is something that has been discussed on this show previously. Episode 306. As a matter of fact, we talked about how 6 hours of sleep is as bad for you as no sleep at all. But let's talk about, because that's been a while, right? Episode 306, we're now on episode 484. 484. Had to pull that up real quick, take a look. Yeah, so episode 484 right now. So 306 was good ways back from where we currently are. And, you know, it's something that it's definitely worth discussing again. But all of these articles, actually, I got them in an email, or obviously an email, because I mentioned got them in an email, but in an email newsletter about running and fitness. And you might be asking yourself, what does sleep have to do with running? Because those are completely opposite activities. One of them, you're running, and the other, you're not, you're sleeping. Well, they're all kind of connected. So let's actually jump into the first of the article. Well, obviously, the one that I'm going with is going to be the first that I pull up here. But it's info on different habits that we have that actually wind up sabotaging our sleep. Or it's actually the one surprising habit, surprising for some, that sabotage sleep. And then there's another article, 8 bad habits that ruin your sleep. You know what? I'm going to go with the 8 habits. The link for the other will be in the show notes. And it's mentioned, don't worry, it's mentioned in the 8 habits. But it's probably the one that affects the most people. So the article here comes from MyFitnessPal, which is actually run by Under Armour. And the article begins, if you fall asleep the second your head hits the pillow, you should probably rethink your strategy, according to Dr. Phyllis Z., who's director of the Sleep Disorder Center at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Dr. Z says it usually takes a healthy person 10 to 15 minutes to fall asleep. That is something I never knew. That it generally takes a quote-unquote healthy person between 10 to 15 minutes to fall asleep. On the other hand, if you're still staring at the clock 30 minutes or an hour or many hours later, one or more of these nighttime bad habits may be to blame. Habit number 1, consuming caffeine. Many of us think we can't function in the morning until we've had a cup of coffee, so why would anyone think having a cup late in the day would be a good idea? The cutoff time for coffee, according to Dr. James Moss, author of Sleep for Success, 2 p.m. Lucky for me, I don't drink coffee. And I largely stay away from sodas. However, I have recently started consuming some caffeine to, try to ramp up the metabolism a little bit, which means that I need to consume this energy drink sooner rather than later, because as I'm recording this, it is early afternoon, not yet 2 o'clock. The doctor says if you're really sensitive, it may be best to limit your caffeine to 1 cup in the morning. Dr. Z adds, and that's Z-E-E, not just the letter Z. Dr. Z adds caffeine can affect you for 6, 7, 8, or maybe even 10 hours or more. Number 2 on the list, and this is the one with a standalone article. Again, the link will be in the show notes. Drinking alcohol. Sure, a nightcap may help you fall asleep, but it won't be sound sleep. That wine or gin will make you wake up during the night, according to experts. Dr. Moss says it ruins REM sleep, which is key for body and brain restoration. Feel free to have a glass of wine with dinner, but cut out alcohol within 2 or 3 hours before bedtime. So if you go to bed at, say, 10 o'clock, and I don't know very many people that do go to bed at 10 o'clock, but assuming you do go to bed at 10 o'clock, you don't want to have any alcohol past about 7 o'clock. And something else you want to cut down on, and these are definitely connected, even though they're 2 different things on the list, using electronics and watching television. I'm combining these, of course. They say, as if you need another reason to stop being on the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But hear this. Blue light sources, like those from your phone, your tablets, and laptops, suppress the production of melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that controls your body's clock, and those levels typically increase as it gets darker in the evening. But if you're busy swiping on Tinder or responding to emails into the wee hours, your melatonin levels will not rise and you will not feel sleepy. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And we're talking about bad habits that ruin your sleep. And yeah, this electronic thing, because I always check my email one more time before I go to bed. I always, let me clear off these Facebook notifications. I know I shouldn't be checking my Facebook when I lay in my bed, but I do anyway. Yeah, and that definitely impacts my sleep. The article here Again, from myfitnesspal.com. And don't worry, the link will be in the show notes, so you don't have to search through the website. They say if you're not ready to put your smartphone, tablet, or laptop down, use a program or an app like Flux, or I guess it's just Flux, F.LUX, which changes the color of your screen to more of a reddish tone closer to bedtime. This is easier on your eyes and may help you with sleep. Also connected is watching television, and I know a lot of people have a television in their bedroom. They say the amount of blue light on your television depends on the type, but no matter what, the light is bright, according to Dr. Z. And while you sit further away from your big screen than you do your phone, you still want to avoid any kind of bright light because it impacts your melatonin levels. Plus, something like Game of Thrones or the nightly news might be disturbing or thought-provoking, which isn't conducive to rest, or the show could just draw you in, and before you know it, it's 2 o'clock and you can't stop watching. Turn off your television an hour before you go to bed is the recommendation from Dr. Z. Now, last night, I'm going to relay a little bit of a story. So last night was Sunday, October the 8th, and it happened to have been one of the nights that WWE had a pay-per-view, and, well, I stayed up and watched it, and it went a good bit longer than expected, because normally they run from like 8 to 11. This went till, I think, well past 11:30, and I like being in bed before 11 o'clock. So what did I do? As soon as the pay-per-view was over, all right, go into bed, and I lay in bed. Let me clear these Facebook notifications, and then next thing I know, it's shortly after midnight. Well, I didn't sleep that good last night. And it's because a couple of these bad habits. The electronics and the television, even though technically it wasn't television, it was, a streaming service on my computer. Next on the list, exercise, believe it or not, can wind up ruining your sleep. The article here says working out can help you sleep better, but you have to time it correctly. In one study of more than 2,600 adults, those who did at least 2.5 hours of moderate to vigorous activity per week saw a 65% improvement in sleep quality. They also said they felt more alert during the day. However, a study in the journal Sleep looked at how the time of day women sweated impacted their sleep. Those who exercised in the morning had less trouble falling asleep, whereas those who worked out at night had more trouble. In general, Dr. Z recommends wrapping up your gym session within 3 hours of your bedtime. However, we're all different, and maybe the only time you can actually fit in a workout is later in the evening. So do what's best for you. But again, exercise is important. And yeah, it seems there's a couple more items on this list here, but it seems that there's a recurring theme here of you should really try knocking off anything that stimulates the brain at least 3 hours before you go to bed. The caffeine need to knock off much earlier. The alcohol, while it doesn't stimulate the brain, you still want to, not consume any within about 3 hours of bed. Electronics, television, both of those about 3 hours before bed. Exercise. Next on the list, spicy foods. That pepperoni pizza may look delicious when you're out at midnight, but you're asking for indigestion, which of course will not lead to smooth sleeping. Avoid spicy foods like a meatball and anything else that might upset your stomach. And I just have to apologize for my absolutely horrible Italian impersonation there. But avoid spicy foods and anything else that might upset your stomach close to bed. Dr. Z says to stop eating about 3 hours before you go to bed. But Dr. Moss says a light snack is okay. If you worry that hunger will keep you up, have a little bit of cereal, some fruit, or nut butter, or crackers with hummus. Now, I have noticed that if I'm hungry when I go to bed, and by that I mean, like I feel like I need to eat a full meal, then when I wake up the next morning, I feel absolutely horrible. But, and I've been doing pretty good at this over the last few months, not exactly doing what's called intermittent fasting, which is you eat all of your food within like an 8-hour window and then you go 16 hours without. But if I eat no later than, say, 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, then I'm good until the next morning. But if I don't eat anything after, let's say I eat an early supper at like 5:30, then I might have a little bit of a, hey, I need something to just tide me over. Again, your mileage may vary here on whether or not you need that light snack, but, you know your body better than anybody else knows your body. But again, a general rule is you don't eat a heavy meal just before bed. A couple more bad habits here, and then let's talk about some tricks to turn off your racing mind here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
During the 2013 Porcupine Freedom Festival, Davi Barker presented an idea for a renegade psychological experiment. Since then, he has refined his idea and put his plan and research into writing. He explains, "We aim to show the world beyond a shadow of a doubt that power corrupts absolutely and corrupt authority deserves no obedience." Authoritarian Sociopathy is available from Amazon.com, all major bookstores, and now available as an audiobook. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. Before we get back into the discussion here about bad habits that ruin your sleep, and then some advice, some tricks, if you will, to turn off a racing mind before you go to bed, I've got a question for you. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? If so, then you need Spendabit in your arsenal. Spendabit is the search engine for things you can buy, you guessed it, with Bitcoin. Spendabit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend a bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com, and if you're a Bitcoin-accepting merchant like I am, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.fppradio.com. That's spendabit.fppradio.com. So the last two bad habits that wind up ruining your sleep. Before I tell you what those are, let me recap the first six. Consuming caffeine, drinking alcohol, and again, they say cut off the caffeine about 8 to 10 hours before you go to bed, mid-afternoon at the latest. Don't drink alcohol within 2 to 3 hours of going to bed. Stop using electronics. Stop watching television about 3 hours before bed. Don't exercise within about 3 hours of going to bed. Don't eat spicy foods within about 3 hours of going to bed. Seems to be a recurring theme here of about 3 hours. Number 7 on the list, turning up the heat. You may be tempted to turn up the thermostat a degree or two before you go to bed, especially in the wintertime, but don't. Your body temperature drops as you doze, so a cooler room may help you fall asleep a little faster. The National Sleep Foundation says between 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit is the sweet spot for a good slumber. And finally, and this sort of wraps in with all of the others of, stay away from electronics and whatnot, work. Answering emails on your smartphone after hours is not only a source of blue light, it also negatively impacts your performance the next day. In a 2014 study, people who worked on their phones at night were less productive once they were in the office the following day. Dr. Z, and again, Dr. Z being the director of the Sleep Disorder Center at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Dr. Z says in the U.S., it's thought of as a badge of honor that you're a good hard worker because you can be reached anytime 24/7. But it creates burnout. Set expectations and say, I will not respond to emails after X time. And I'm sure you're all, having flashbacks to high school algebra right now where you solve for X, it's a variable. So for you, X could be 7 o'clock. For somebody else, it could be 8 o'clock. But good rule of thumb, based on the other things about avoiding electronics, about 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. The author of this article says, try making a few or all of these tweaks and hopefully you'll be sleeping better soon. So, how do you actually, let's say that you're, unable. You try really, really hard, but you just can't get away from the electronics 3 hours before you go to bed. You can't get away from the TV. You can't get away from, the caffeine or whatever for 3 hours before you go to bed. What do? Your mind's racing. You're laying in bed. Your thoughts are just running, and you're like, brain, please shut off. Well, luckily, Under Armour has an article on 6 tricks to turn off a racing mind for better sleep. Number 1, counting. No. Don't count sheep. Don't sit there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. Count in multiples of 3 or 7. That is the advice from Dr. Stephanie Silberman, Ph.D., licensed psychologist, and fellow of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. If that doesn't work, go through the alphabet. Try to think of all the fruits and vegetables that start with the letter A, and then the letter B, and then so on. Dr. Silberman says any small mental activity that's not super challenging, but challenging enough to distract your mind from your thoughts will keep you feeling calmer. Now, one thing that has worked for me, and you know what? I'm actually not going to say that because it's number 3 on the list. Number 2 on the list is progressive muscle relaxation. Starting at your feet and slowly working your way up your body, tense each muscle for 5 to 10 seconds, and then release. This does 2 things. It's hard to consciously relax your muscles so you physically relax. And it gives you a specific thing to focus on rather than your thoughts so you can get out of your head. Number 3 on the list, and as I said, this is the one that has wound up helping me to be able to relax. And I'll tell you what it is here in the closing moments of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Plus, there are 3 others that I may or may not have tried. What works for you? This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
Hi, this is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com, talking about 6 tricks to turn off a racing mind to get better sleep. Number 1, count. But don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. Count by multiples of 3, multiples of 7. Start naming things that start with an A. The trick here is to challenge your mind just enough to where it distracts you from all of your thoughts of, oh, I need to do this. I've got to do that. Did I wind up turning off the light in the basement? Did fill in the blank. It distracts you enough to where you can wind up falling asleep. Progressive muscle relaxation. Number 3, breathe. There are several different ways you can use your breath to turn your attention away from your mind and promote relaxation. And we've talked about, some of the various meditative ways that you can breathe. And they have a couple of things listed here, examples listed here. You can simply count your breaths. 1 on the inhale, 2 on the exhale. Do that until you reach 10 and then start over. Or you can do what they call that 4 square method. Inhale for 4 counts, hold your breath for 4 counts, exhale for 4 breaths or for 4 counts, and then start over. A third technique is to lengthen your exhale, inhale for 4, and then try to exhale for a 6 count, keeping the same tempo. Or also on that 4 count thing, if you have a larger lung capacity, inhale for 6 or 8, and then exhale the same. But, keep that same sort of thing. And again, it is a meditative practice that definitely does wind up helping you relax and then sleeping better. Number 4 on the list, listen to an audiobook. Choose an audiobook with a monotone voice and topic you're not really interested in, says Michelle Dreerup, PSYD, a psychologist with the Cleveland Clinic Sleep Disorder Center. She says it's not about the story so much as trying to distract you from other worries and thoughts that come up. And yes, I intentionally did that in kind of a monotone voice. She says, if that seems like a waste of time, remember that so is lying in bed worrying. Number 5 is autogenic training. Number 6, visualization. Don't have time to tell you what those are, but the link will be in the show notes. And don't forget, every Friday I answer your questions. Send those over ama.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.